Hello everyone, this is Sorian Studios 1207 and welcome back to the channel. Alright, let's just cut to the chase. This past Tuesday on July 11th, Toho just dropped the all-new teaser for the upcoming new entry in the Godzilla franchise, Godzilla Minus One, which marks the 37th film in the franchise overall, the 30th live-action Toho Godzilla film, and the 5th entry in the Reiwa era. After months of waiting, we finally get our first good look at what this film is going to be, and it looks epic. The trailer conveys an eerie, apocalyptic, almost horror-esque take on the King of the Monsters that harkens back to the roots of the franchise. From building destruction, aftermath shots, scenes of crowds fleeing in terror, to brief glimpses of this new iteration of Godzilla in action, this 35-second teaser was able to give us a lot, without really showing much, and ended just as quickly as it started. So without further ado, let's take a look at the teaser for Godzilla Minus One. We start off with the distant sound of Godzilla's footsteps approaching, with a headline against a black background that reads, "Post-war Japan had lost everything," before fading into a slow, sweeping shot of a city, most likely Tokyo, in ruins. This building that we see in the foreground is the Ginza Clock Tower, which is the same building that was featured in both Gojira and Shin Godzilla. We can clearly see that the building and the surrounding area has sustained heavy damage from some unseen destructive force of massive proportions. What is it, you say? Well, I think we know the answer. The sound of footsteps gets louder as the teaser fades into an overhead shot of a field or landscape just littered with heavy piles of smoke, debris, dead bodies, and destruction. These scenes of destruction are highly reminiscent of the teaser trailers for Godzilla 2014 from way back in late 2013, early 2014, which showed an entire city in ruins or a field covered in destruction. We of course see the credited name of Takashi Yamazaki, who is the film's writer-director and VFX supervisor, and we will talk more about him later. Once again, the sound of footsteps are heard as we are shown a painted down shot that focuses on civilians, news reporters, and people wearing what looks like some kind of protective clothing, all standing amidst the rubble and debris, with entire city blocks destroyed in the background. All of these people are standing in horror at the sight before them. If you look closely, you can see people protesting with danger signs, as the area must be affected with radiation or other hazardous chemicals, which explains why there are people wearing protective tarp or film or cloth around their bodies. A text appears that reads 0 to minus, with the minus in red, as the stomping intensifies and abruptly comes to a stop. Suddenly, in an almost jump-scare-like fashion, we get a shot of Godzilla swiping his tail as citizens are running away, with a wall of destruction just behind them. It is such a terrifying and intimate depiction of the destruction that it's very similar to what we saw in Shin Godzilla, and even in other films like the 2008 Cloverfield, though without the found footage. Still, we get a great look on just how violent and cataclysmic the destruction really is with the tone of this movie based on the teaser. Then the shot of a train car is seen crashing down into some railway tracks below, followed by what is one of the most talked about shots in the teaser, with civilians running as Godzilla stomps his foot into the ground, which causes the ground below to crack open, sending debris and people into the air. Once again, we just get a sense of how visceral and violent this film is going to be, with its depiction of destruction. Then what is possibly the most heartbreaking and haunting shot is that of a little girl in a red dress, running the opposite way of the crowd, presumably looking for her parents. It gives me strong Schindler's List vibes with the little girl in red, and Pacific Rim vibes with a young Makomori running in an Onibaba-rated Tokyo. It adds to the loss of innocence and bravery that is being displayed here, as we see a young girl trying to locate her family, even though they are probably dead by this point. The title card of the film shows up, before cutting to the real money shot of the teaser, that shows Godzilla clamping down with his jaws on some electrical lines. We then cut to black, showing the film's release date of December 1st, this year, at least in the US. So after all that, how would I describe this trailer? Well, 2 words: epically haunting. I think the first thing I noticed about this trailer is the lack of any voiceover narration, aside from the title, or any music even. It adds to the haunting, apocalyptic imagery that fits with the tone this film is going for, which is appropriate given the film's period piece setting of the 1940s, that is just after Japan experienced one of the most horrifying events in history, the bombings of both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the film takes place before the year 1954. The CGI is very well done. It's fluid, lifelike, and very photorealistic at times. It's great to see how much they've improved on the CGI and visual department since Shin Godzilla, which while mostly good, wasn't the most fluid or mobile in terms of Godzilla's animation, if that makes sense. As mentioned before, it gives off Gojira, Godzilla 2014, Shin Godzilla, and other dark, somber movie vibes, combined with a rapid, fast-paced, intense, and brutal tone that really tries to sell just how ominous this feels. The summary of the film is really simple, as it states, "The worst despair in series history strikes Japan. After the war, Japan has been reduced to 0. Godzilla appears and plunges the country into a negative state. The most desperate situation in the history of Japan. Who and how? Will Japan stand up to it?" It's really putting the emphasis that Japan is so weak and vulnerable following its surrender after World War II, and the many cities that were bombed. Suddenly, just when they thought it was over, the conflict that has steered nations across the world has awakened something even more dangerous and terrifying than even the largest and most militarized nations during World War II. A detail you may not have noticed is how Godzilla's footsteps throughout the trailer is very similar to a ticking time bomb, as each step gets louder and louder like a bomb about to explode. You may recall, the teaser before this one showed us each entry in the franchise, minus the anime trilogy and the MonsterVerse of course, counting down from the number 29 showing Shin Godzilla, then number 1 showing Gojira, followed by the number 0, then -1. I think that, combined with the visual storytelling of each of these teasers, is able to convey the urgency, the dread, and the intensity of the situation once the countdown hits -1, which I wonder if it will play a significant part into the film's story, themes, imagery, or motifs. On Godzilla's design, I like it. It's a good blend of classic and new that borrows a lot from the hazy design, both the Always Sunset on 3rd Street Godzilla design and the short film simulator Ride Godzilla, which I will talk more about in just a moment. And I can see some resemblance with both the Shin and Millennium interpretations of Godzilla due to his bulky physique and the large dorsal spines, which are tinted in white instead of red or magenta or black. It's a really good design that I hope becomes the defining interpretation and design of Godzilla, like how both the MonsterVerse and Shin were the defining versions of Godzilla for both American and Japanese audiences respectively. I'm curious to see if this Godzilla has any new abilities, and how tall will he be, since while he was enormous, I don't think he's bigger than either Shin or Legendary, and definitely not bigger than Godzilla Earth. He looks to be about the same height as the Showa Godzilla, at 50 meters tall. Since this is just a teaser and we don't get a full body shot of him, at least in live action, we're just gonna wait and see. Before ending the video, I'm gonna comment on a few things we know about the film. The writer and director, Takashi Yamazaki, is also serving as the VFX supervisor and has previously worked on projects such as being the writer and director of the 2007 film, Always Sunset on 3rd Street 2, which featured Godzilla in a dream scene, and as designer for the Godzilla the Ride theme park attraction located in the Seiban Amusement Park in Tokorozawa, Saitama, Japan. So already the man has experience with doing VFX supervision, which explains why the CGI looks really good, and of course with the character of Godzilla. Hopefully both the filmmakers and the higher-ups of Toho can deliver with this entry, as it's part of Toho's larger plan to bring Godzilla to international audiences. As of now, we do not have any official cast of actors who will star in the film, so we're just gonna have to wait and see as the film approaches its release date of November 3rd in Japan, which is the 69th anniversary of the original Gojira's release, and the US release of December 1st, so that's not that far from now. It's like 5 months from now. Overall, this trailer has sold me on the tone this film is going for. I'm excited to see this new entry in the theaters come December 1st, and the fact that we are getting 2 Godzilla films, one from Toho and the other from Legendary in a span of just 4 months is mind-blowing to think about. It really is a good time to be a Godzilla fan. This was a breakdown on the teaser. I will likely cover more news and updates about this film in the MonsterVerse in the coming months. And now that I've shared my thoughts, let me know what you guys thought of this new teaser in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future uploads. This is Saurian Studios 1207, signing off.